Hi Virgo, welcome to your August 2017 Astro Update. It's Rena here, and yes, I'm using this very soft-spoken voice because of the time of night it is. It seems like I always end up doing these late at night, and as I was putting together Virgo's transits for August, I was pretty much blown away because there is so much 12th house activity. And I always forget to say that this is for the sun and the rising sign, these astrological transits, and this does differ from my tarot readings, which I intend for the sun signs. Obviously, you know, people still resonate with different things. Some people even watch readings for their moon signs. And I have the moon in Virgo, and when I see all this 12th house stuff, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of myself if anything happens along those lines, because I do not watch any kind of readings for my moon sign. I've done it occasionally, but I just don't do that. But, I mean, you guys, I'm wondering how this is going to play out for you, because let's review what the 12th house represents. The 12th house is Pisces' natural house. And so think about what Pisces represents. First of all, it's ruled by Neptune. And so it's not worldly. It's actually otherworldly. It's actually the spiritual realm, the realm of fantasy, the realm of, I was going to say mystery. Of course, the 8th house in Scorpio definitely goes along with that. But anything to do with fairies and goblins and all those kinds of unicorns, maybe. And it's also the place. So it's a place of mysticism, past life stuff, stuff that we have kind of shoved under the rug. And there's going to be all these transits in the 12th house. Virgo is the opposite sign of Pisces. You're the 6th house of health, everyday routines, the workplace, and work itself. And so you are always about things that are tangible, being an earth sign. This is about intangible stuff. And so it's not necessarily something that is very comfortable when you're dealing with the 12th house and you're a Virgo. So it should be pretty interesting for you guys. The sun is going to be in this sector until it enters Leo on the 22nd of the month. And so you've probably heard that phrase, sunlight is the best disinfectant. That is the kind of thing that the sun in the 12th house can do. It can put a spotlight on things that maybe you haven't been dealing with, that you haven't wanted to deal with. And this, see, you know what I think it is, you guys? I think of, in the tarot, I think of the World card. At this time of year, you are already hibernating. You do have planets in the 12th house every year during August and even late July. And you are trying to get ready for your solar return, right? In late August or in September, for those of you who are born then. And so this is always going to be a basic pattern for you to kind of have to tie up these loose ends. But there's more to it, because we have 2 new moons in Leo. The first one being on this night that I'm recording, which is July 23rd. But then the second one is happening on August 21st. And so that in itself is significant because it doesn't happen all the time to have two new moons in one sign like that. And then the fact that the North Node has been in Leo for a few months and will continue to be there for over a year. The North Node in the 12th house means that serendipity comes to you in the form of spiritual matters. Perhaps you meet a guru, a spiritual teacher who transforms your life, and you may meet them or him or her in very unusual ways. You may not, unexpected ways, but they end up having a significant influence in your life. You might meet a soulmate, a twin flame, and this is the time period. Anything 12th house can be karmic, okay? So it's like the chickens coming home to roost, but it's not necessarily a bad, why do chickens roosting have to be bad? I mean, it could be something really great. If you're a chicken, you got to roost, right? So you have, let's talk about the other 12th house stuff happening. You have, this is kind of significant too. So Mercury, which is your ruler, goes retrograde on August 12th in your sign, first house, and then it goes back into your 12th house on the last day of the month. Okay? It goes direct on September 5th, just to let you know, but it will be in Leo. It will be, in the 12th house at that point. And so what could be happening? Well, something about yourself. Maybe you need to make big changes. Maybe you have an addiction, or maybe you don't even know that this thing is like ruling your life. Sometimes it can be a soft addiction that, like for instance, instead of a tragic love affair, it could be a friendship that is really thwarting you in some way, and you need to, break off this relationship, but you don't know how. And so you're thinking about how it impacts your life. The first house, a lot of times, is, it's dealing with the self, dealing with the issues surrounding you in general. And sometimes it can be the body, though. And so that's why I bring up addiction, because whether it's food or a substance abuse or even another person who's toxic, it can all have an impact on your health and on your physical being. And so that's going to be your review, is like, what is going on? And you're going to be thinking about things. In the 12th house, Mercury there, it's very important to meditate, because sometimes when we have Mercury in the 12th house, we feel like this vague sense of anxiety, and we can't put our finger on why. And it's because, and I remember, I think this really happened to me not so long ago when I was dealing with a lot of 12th house stuff in the spring, and I was thinking, I was having these psychic hits, and memories were coming up, not just anything traumatic, but even just songs, and it was reminding me of things long ago, or even just seeing an image, and it was really freaky because the emotions were getting stirred up. So don't be surprised if you become overly sentimental. And it can even be a form of sadness when you connect these memories, because you understand that life is temporary, and there's this sense that everything is fleeting. And the beauty of having a lot of 12th house stuff is that it's in the tarot, the World card, ending a chapter in your life and tying up loose ends. So Mars will be in this 12th house all month long, and Mars is a very active planet. In the 12th house, it's like Mars being kept in a cage, because the 12th house is not a physical house. It's an internalized thing, okay? So you may feel like you're jumping out of your skin. This is why if you don't meditate, and I'm talking about even physical, like Hatha Yoga, it would really be good for you, because it would keep you active, but it would also be keeping your kundalini chugging along, or, you're just keeping the energy flow nice. And, that can be a happy medium for somebody when they have Mars in the 12th house. Venus will go into your 12th on the 26th of August. Until that time, it will be in your 11th house of hopes and wishes and friends, and group associations. So what can happen is, if you're looking for love, you might find it from a friend of a friend, or if you belong to, Save the Whales, you might find it in some kind of a group that you belong to. And then when it goes into the 12th house, we're looking at karmic issues surrounding love. So soulmate, twin flame things. In some cases, clandestine relationships. If maybe you'll be dating somebody and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, I'm married, so please meet me in the alley, and so that nobody sees us and stuff." And then you'll have to decide whether or not you want to go along with something like that. But there definitely could be some kind of a karmic, especially with all this other 12th house stuff kicking up for you. And that can be kind of exhilarating with the North Node in this sector as well. And so, one thing I didn't mention is the lunar eclipse. And this is happening on August 7th. And for you, the sector that this eclipse, I'm thinking in my head, I guess it's the 6th house of health, and that's your natural house. So how could this play out for you, having a lunar eclipse in this house? Well, I think one thing, if you've been having any kind of health issues, there may be this purging that is like almost something that you didn't even consciously aware of, that you needed to get out of your system. And maybe it's just like you stumble upon it, some kind of remedy. Maybe you just, this is just an example. Somebody drinking cherry juice and they cure their gout and they didn't even know that it had anything to do with that. And, I'm just pulling that out of thin air, but anything that has to do with purification, this could be like it on steroids, and that can, of course, help your health. The other thing is that it could affect a workplace situation, but it could be in a good way, because if you haven't been happy where you are, you may find that your particular, if you work in a company, maybe you work in a different department, and so you're ending one department, and maybe you weren't getting along with those people. Sometimes the full moon, or, by the way, the lunar eclipse is a full moon that's very powerful. They call it a full moon on steroids. Sometimes it can be that you become aware of something, And in this case, this would be in your workplace. And that could precipitate you leaving. If you find out that you were supposed to get a promotion and they gave it to somebody else who wasn't qualified, and they told you some cover story, you could just all these things could just come about maybe at once, and you decide to leave on your own volition. But remember, always embrace change. And I think that you do, being a mutable sign, Virgo, because these things, these kinds of transits are ways to keep us from being in ruts. These eclipses and all of these transits, they indicate that change is inevitable, that we are constantly shifting, that our purpose, at least that's my opinion, is that we're here for expansion. We're here to grow. We're here to explore and not to cling to things that are known. When the sun goes into your sign on the 22nd of the month, you're going to feel even physically better off than you have been, because the sun is a revitalizing force. It's in your own sign. It's your solar return. And of course, you have your new moon in September. It's actually at a later degree of Virgo this time around. So you're going to see it close to the equinox. In the northern hemisphere, it would be the fall equinox. And that is going to be your new moon. And of course, it's towards the end of Virgo. But still, you have enough on your plate right now. So, and enough loose ends to tie up, so that you can be ready to really go get them, especially at the time of that new moon on September 20th. So we're talking about a window starting August 1st of approximately 7 weeks or so, maybe, 8 weeks. So it's a great time to get your house in order. And I know that a lot of you Virgos like order. And I hope you enjoy this. I'm very excited for you. You may have a lot of mystical experiences, who knows? But whatever happens, take care of yourselves. If you'd like a private reading, I have my natal chart interpretation, hour-long readings on sale, and other readings. You can visit me at Raina Moon Astrology. The link is below. Have a great August, Virgo. Bye.